Hey everyone! I know it's been a really long time, but I am so excited to finally be here making another video for you guys. I've been extremely busy with life and I seem like I can't find the time to make a video. I've come up with a couple great ideas for videos and I've written them down. So I should have a minimum of 3 more videos coming out, hopefully within the next month or two. I think they're going to be great, awesome videos that will definitely help and benefit a lot of you. I know next week I should be coming out with my 2-year HRT anniversary video. That it will be a special video for all of you and I hope you enjoy it. So today's topic is going to be about being educated. So I get emails almost every single day and people commonly ask me every day, most common question is, what can I do to be completely ready to come out as transgender to my family, friends, whatever? And I think the most important thing is by far education. Being familiar with the subject, knowing what transgender is, knowing how society sees trans people, just everything that goes along with living a trans lifestyle. I think you should be very educated on that, because that education, that substantial amount of education, you'll be able to share onto the people that you're telling, and they will have a better time understanding it and hopefully be more likely to accept you. I think one major issue is people that come out and aren't accepted. I don't think they're that educated. I mean, well, there's a lot of people that are educated, but sometimes I think people go into coming out not being as educated as they should be, and I think there's a lot of repercussions to that happening because you can't identify why you might be trans, what societal issues there are for being trans. These questions people may have to you when you come out, you may not know the answer to, and instead of being actually educated and being able to give an articulate answer, you might just be like, I don't know, I just feel like a girl, like that's all. That's not gonna work. Like, most people probably won't accept you unless you have factual knowledge that can back you up. So on this video today, I'm going to be talking about areas that you guys should become educated in if you are trans and plan on coming out as trans, or if you've already come out. Good basic information that you guys should know if you are transgender. I think the first thing is the medical side of being transgender. In particular, like, what is gender dysphoria? If you guys want to look for the term, it's in what's called the DSM-5. Just look it up on the internet and type in gender dysphoria behind it and you'll get a full explanation. Actually, I'm going to link a link below that will show you guys the definition of gender dysphoria. And on top of that, just don't be able to recite the definition. Come up with a way to define gender dysphoria in your own terms, some way that relates best to yourself. Look up on medical research too. I know one major thing that helped my parents come into understanding with me being trans is the medical research I did. So I spent a lot of time looking on the internet, what is the cause for being transgender? And I've always wanted to know. Now, there's no definite proof of what causes being transgender, but there is a lot of good evidence as to what may cause it. You know, there's stuff in the DNA. I think one of the leading scientific theories about what causes being trans is something happening when your mother is pregnant with you between the 8th and the 16th week of pregnancy. That is actually when the brain develops, and usually what is said is there's some traumatic event that happens to the mother which causes a hormone fluctuation in the womb, which causes the brain of the fetus to develop in a more masculine or feminine way. And I think I believe that way because when my mom was 10 weeks pregnant with me, she actually broke her leg, which causes a lot of stress on her life, and there's a big influx in hormones, and I definitely think they're probably feminizing hormones, and it causes it to feminize my brain. And if you actually look at cadavers of trans people, if you cut their brains in half, there's like a male brain compared to another a male brain who is heterosexual compared to a male brain who is homosexual. Those brains are identical. Now if you take a trans brain, male to female, compare it to the female brain and then the heterosexual male brain, actually the trans brain, parts of the brain actually resemble the female brain more than the male brain, which I find very fascinating, and they believe this is caused due to some sort of stressful event that happened in the womb during the 8th to 16th week of pregnancy, which I think is pretty fascinating and pretty compulsing evidence to me. But do research on your own and try to find what you believe that causes what causes people to be trans. Maybe you don't have to come up with a way that causes it, but maybe come up with just the medical terminology and be able to define the medical aspects of being trans. One big thing that I get a lot is my family is extremely religious. Well, have you ever looked in the Bible for what it says about trans people? There's actually not really anything about talking about trans people. I recently had a conversation with my very conservative grandfather, and he was talking to me about it. He goes, you know, Jamie, I read the Old Testament and I read the New Testament, and there's only one passage in the entire Old Testament and New Testament that maybe could have talked about trans people, and it was talking about how men who dress as women to lure in someone of the same sex. So a man dresses as a woman to lure in another man, that is considered a sin. However, if you look at what being trans is compared to what that says in the Bible, there is no correlation at all between this person and this person. Like, it's completely different. We are not cross-dressers. We are actually women. We are actually men. We are actually these people, and it really actually doesn't say anything in the Bible. Now I must say I've never read the Bible through and through. However, my grandpa, who's probably read it like maybe 50 times in his life, he says he can't find anything in the Bible that would talk about being transgender and having it be a sin. So maybe you guys should do your research on that as well. The next thing is look up just documentaries, look up articles online about being transgender, be familiar with pop culture and being trans, be familiar with all this, what it's like to be trans in society. I think the more educated you are on that stuff, the better off you'll be. Plus, as for me at least, I find like trans documentaries and all of those things extremely interesting and fun, because it's kind of just like learning about yourself, which is it's not exactly your story, but they're pretty close, and it's pretty nice to see that other people have gone through similar issues as you have. The next thing is be educated on how hard it is to be trans. I'm going to link below a website that has a bunch of different statistics about being transgender, and I think this is a very good website that many of you should check out and just be familiar with these statistics. For example, one of the scariest statistics is 41% of transgender individuals attempt suicide at some point in their life. 1 in 12 trans women are murdered. But just be familiar with that, because the more you educate people about these statistics, the less likely it's going to happen, because the more educated they are going to be. Also know, like, for example, if you have supporting parents, how much better of a life that trans child will have compared to someone without supporting parents. Like, for example, 72% of individuals with supporting parents claimed that they were satisfied with their life, as opposed to trans people with unsupported parents. They only had a 33% life satisfaction rate, which is way down. So it really shows how important having a supportive net structure around you is when you are transgender, because it really does help a lot. And I think in order to gain that supportive structure, you need to be educated on the subject and be able to tell people what being transgender is like. I think lastly, the most important thing about being educated is know meet other people who are trans and have been living as a trans person for some time, it's very rare that you will find someone that is very depressed about transitioning. Very rare. I have met a ton of trans people, and I don't think I've ever met one person who's regretted transitioning. However, I was laying in bed today and I was just thinking, imagine if I never transitioned. Like, that was 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. Imagine if I never transitioned, and I could not imagine it. Like, I would probably be dead or drunk or just so unhappy with my life. I'd probably be just so isolated and stuck in my room. And now I'm out, I'm blossoming, I'm talking to everyone, and just know how beneficial it is to transition and how good it is on your mental health and how happy you can actually be when you transition if you feel it is necessary to transition. And I think one of the most important things about transitioning is you finally get to be your authentic self. One thing that I hated before I transitioned is I was trying to be someone I was not, and I wanted to be that someone so I could satisfy other people's wants and desires as like a friend or whatever. But as I became authentic and true to myself, it's unbelievable how much happier you get for just being who you truly are. And the great thing is, people around you will recognize that and enjoy being around you that much more. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video today. If you guys have any questions, comments, definitely leave them in the box below. Also, if you guys want to keep it private, you can email me, which will also be linked below. Please, everyone, follow me on Twitter. I'll try to tweet more if you guys want. I'm not really the tweeting type, but I do like to tweet about when my videos come out, just random things. So please follow me on Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Alright, see you later, guys. Bye.